So this is the self-development with tactics. Book.
Today we're going to talk about regret and why we even regret things and what it actually is and all those things. We're going to talk about that, but we're going to talk about it actually after the intro. Because there's always an intro. Just because there is one intro. Yeah. And I've actually found a really cool website and a really interesting website as well, which has a lot of great articles and a lot of... I don't know if they're well researched. I really don't know. I can't tell at this point in time. And I haven't actually gone through a whole one. I've just only seen there's some pretty interesting headlines, some pretty interesting questions that I haven't had actually. But I think that there are some people that have had these questions, which is then in the end, I think just a really cool thing if you're just getting a specific answer to a really specific question, because they are really specific, as this one is actually as well, like regrets. We've had a few, but why? This is the headline of this article, which is also going to be linked down in the description. So if you want to check it out on your own and without my commentary and without my shit, then please do that. It's going to be in the description, also in the show notes if you're on the podcast. But yeah, I think we're just going to go ahead with it, or we're just going to go through it. I am really looking forward to it, because if it is a cool website and if it is something that's quite great to go through, then I'm going to go through a bunch of more articles, which is actually always a great thing, to find new sites and new articles and new sources for whatever I am just interested in. It's always a good thing. So, and I might also highlight everything so that I can just then put it down into the description as a PDF, as we know. But yeah, we're gonna see. Can I please? Is it? Yes, it's fine now. It is fine now. So let's see. Regrets, we've had a few, but why? And I'm actually also gonna zoom in because I'm not a fucking eagle. Goalie Eishi Kawashima and player Mokato Hasebe of Japan look regretful after conceding the second goal to Ukraine at a soccer match in Belgium in 2018. And they really, indeed, they don't just look that happy, to be honest. They really don't. But something that always just gets into my eyes, kinda, is just the fucking legs that all those soccer players are having. They're having massive fucking legs. But I think, they just have to have them, Before FOMO, which is the fear of missing out, was even a thing, I had a similar anxiety, the fear of future regret. When I was in college, in my early 20s, I made a conscious decision not to miss out on once-in-a-lifetime experiences. Somewhere deep down, I knew that if I didn't take that opportunity to study abroad in the Middle East or attempt to break into Hollywood screenwriting after graduation, that I would regret it later. Turns out, I might have been on to something. According to growing research on the science of regret, we humans are far more likely to experience gnawing feelings of regret for things that we didn't do than mistakes that we made along the way. Pretty interesting. And I think that's actually kind of the case. If we kind of translate that into what they are all about, those soccer players, they're probably thinking why didn't I do this? Why didn't I do that? Why didn't I just step in his way and all those things? And not really why did I do this? Why did I do that? Why did I do this? Even though I do also have to say, sometimes it's probably going to be two-sided. It's probably going to be both things. What I mean is, you can of course say why didn't I do why didn't I step in his way? But you can also be okay, why did I just step there and whatnot? Which kind of is what I want to say is that you can often just use both sides. And haven't I? Now it's silent. But let's move on. And those regrets can cut much deeper and last much longer when those interactions are perceived as failures to live up to an idealized version of ourselves in actions. Actually pretty interesting and also relatively well written as far as I can tell, even though I'm not a writer and I'm also not just such a gifted person when I think or when it comes to writing, I think. What is regret? First, let's define regret. Marcel Sellenberg, a scholar of economic psychology and behavioral economics, defines regret as the negative cognitively based emotion that we experience when realizing or imagining that our present situation would be better had we acted differently. Because of this cognitive process of comparing outcomes to what might have been, regret has been called a counterfactual emotion. Counterfactual means something that didn't happen. So the emotion of regret can be triggered by thoughts of an alternative, presumably better reality that didn't come to pass because we were too scared, lazy, stupid to take action in the past. Pretty interesting. And I also like that they are actually explaining what all those words mean, because then I don't have to look them up, Then I don't have to look them up. But I also feel like, well, I do not want to, as I'm probably going to do, I do not want to highlight the whole article there, because I think that this is not what I am supposed to be doing. But well, while lingering regrets can make us feel loosey, scientists believe the pain of regret serves an important evolutionary process, which is the stuff that I'm really interested in. Like, why are we having that? Why are we feeling that? What is evolution or nature thinking, or what was nature thinking about when giving certain things to us, like regrets and anger and aggression and all those things? Like, there's always like a reason behind all those things. And this is just something that's really interesting most often, like really indeed interesting, like so brilliant. Anyway, I actually have to, a little tiny bit better. So let's see what the purpose there is. Giorgio Corselli at the University of Southern California is a neuroeconomist who studies the role of regret in decision making. He writes that emotions, rather than interfering with our ability to make rational decisions, can in fact nudge us toward behaving even more rationally. The achieving feeling of regret, the aching feeling of regret, it turns out, can be a great teacher. Over time, the pain of past experience will prompt us to act differently in the future. On an evolutionary level, if our distant ancestors regretted dropping a rock on their foot or losing their mate to a rival, they would learn to make better future decisions that were more likely to ensure their survival and reproductive success. Which I have to say just really makes sense, that it is about learning, it is about just figuring out what I should be doing and what I shouldn't be doing, based on things that I did, based on my experiences, based on what I have experienced. It just really makes sense. I mean, I kind of just feel like and think like, what if I expected? To really be honest, like, what if I expected to just get out of this article? Like, what should be like the reason why we're having regrets? Well, anyway. But I'm going to highlight that so that it is also going to be in the PDF. Let's do it like this, I guess. In a similar way, if you regret not asking Jessica to the prom in high school, you may also be likely to chicken out with the new girl in accounting. Okay. Just because you've not taken a chance, I guess. And you do want to, and there is not just some Twitter feed. Okay. In 2017, social psychologist SDWT at the New School for Social Research published a cool paper on regret with his colleague Thomas Gilovich at Cornell University. The paper includes a quote from The Top 5 Regrets of the Dying, a book written by palliative nurse Bonnie Ware. The most commonly cited deathbed regret was, I wish I'd had the courage to live a life true to myself and not the life others expected me of. And I think that I've actually gone through this book as a podcast episode, but I'm really unsure about this, like really incredibly unsure. I think, I really don't know. But as far as I remember, it's actually been a really interesting book and a really interesting one, as also the title actually suggests. Top 5 regrets of the dying. Like, what do people think? What do people fear? And I think this is also something that we can learn. And I also like the thought. Of just living the life that you want to live and not living the life that somebody else wants you to live. Because I think it's kind of the fastest way to be unhappy. If you're just trying to be a certain person for a certain person, instead of just being who you are, instead of just living the life you want to live and living the life like you want it to live. I just really believe in that. I really do. Action versus inaction. By surveying dozens of adults of different ages, Davide and Gilovich confirmed worse. I actually do want to highlight that. By surveying dozens of adults of different ages, Davide and Gilovich confirms various anecdotal evidence that the most painful regrets are most often caused by inaction rather than action. But going a step further, Davide and Gilovich identified a certain subset of regrets as the most enduring, those that highlight the distance between our actual self and the ideal self we always dreamed of becoming. The research is based on the idea that we all carry around 3 different perceptions of self: our actual self, our odd self, and our ideal self. The odd self is the person we believe we should be based on societal and personal expectations of duty and responsible behavior. The ideal self is the person we dream of becoming by realizing all of our hopes, goals, and aspirations. Regrets inevitably form in the perceived distance between our actual selves and these odd and ideal selves, which is a really interesting thing, and it just really makes sense if you think about it. And this is also why, and I just believe this is something that a lot of people think about, and it might be a reason for a lot of people. This is exactly why psychology is such an interesting thing. And I mean, like, so many people are interested in psychology because I think it is just based on being then able to understand oneself a little tiny bit better. I assume. I don't know. I just assume. But yeah. And I mean, like, if you're then able to do that, then it is a pretty cool thing and a pretty necessary thing maybe as well. But yeah, I know. I think this is just something that everybody's interested in. Maybe it's just some people more and some people less, of course. But yeah. From the survey results, Davide and Gilovich concluded that regrets related to our ideal self are much more psychologically pernicious and offered several theories as to why. And now we are having, I think, 3 different explanations, I guess. Odd-based regrets are initially felt much more strongly, such as the regret of cheating on a spouse or not visiting a dying relative. And because they produce such a hot psychological response, people are more likely to take steps to address or lessen the regret by apologizing or rationalizing the behavior. In that way, the regret doesn't fester over time. Ideal-related regrets, on the other hand, don't provoke a strongly negative psychological response at first. If you regret taking a boring summer internship instead of going on that wild European backpacking trip with your friends, the initial psychological sting may be relatively cold. After all, it was the prudent thing to do. What does prudent mean? Is it like the right thing? Wise. Now I know another word. So it's a good thing. Even though I'm probably going to forget about it, but anyway. The prudent thing to do. It is only over time, as you repeatedly hear stories from that trip or watch movies with characters who have unforgettable experiences traveling abroad, that the unresolved regrets balloons into something bigger. And it is definitely also something that I have had in my life, and maybe I'm still gonna have it in the future as well. But it is mainly about just stopping to play soccer. I've been playing quite a lot of soccer when I was a child, and I've also been not that bad. You know, I truly not want to say that I've been good or something, but I haven't been really not that bad. And I've stopped playing soccer because of school and because I thought I had to concentrate on school, and also because my current trainer wasn't that nice, because we had to switch up trainers quite a lot actually when I was playing in this club. And the last trainer we had was like, I don't know, it's just not been like my favorite one. And I then decided to just let go of playing soccer. But it's not been such a good idea, just because I think that I haven't been that bad, and just because I think that I might have gone just relatively good at it, you know. But I don't know. Like, this is truly also something like, okay, if I had been doing this and that and whatnot, then I would now at this point in time be this and that person. Like, no, not really. I mean, in the end, I'm also quite happy about that, because this means that I'm sitting here and I'm recording this episode, and I've been recording just numerous things over the past 1.5 years, and I've done multiple things, and I've just been attending this school and that school. So, I mean, like, yeah, things could have just completely changed if I have just tried to stick to it or something, you know. And I'm just really, really happy with how my life is and how I am and how things are at this point in time. And so it's like, yeah, anyway, it is what it is, you know. So yeah, which is always something I think to really think about, like, what would life be like if I've done that and this, you know? We really don't know. So it could definitely also be the case that you would have died or something. Could have, you know. Who says that it is not the case, or could have not been the case? If this makes sense, I don't know. Also, the distance between our ideal self and our actual self will always be greater than the distance between our odd self and our actual self. Yeah, kinda. I think we're always just seeing the parallels between is the odd self the person we should be, I guess. Yeah. Also, this read that. We often set unattainable aspirations for ourselves, like overcoming shyness to become a famous actor, or overcoming a lifelong hatred of exercise to become a marathon runner. And even when we achieve more realistic expectations, the authors write, we often develop new ones that are harder to meet. Yeah, probably. I know. I think there's actually something that the human being can do relatively well, just setting expectations and doing some things so that its life is not that good any longer. If that makes sense. I don't know. Not everybody experiences regret in the same way, and some of that may come down to how our individual brains respond to regretful experiences. Researchers have conducted several neuroimaging studies to identify the areas of the brain responsible for producing feelings of regret, and the top contender is a region called the lateral orbitofrontal cortex, which is, as far as I know, where feelings are, the prefrontal cortex. But you know, I don't know. Hamdi Erilmas, an instructor in psychiatry at Harvard Medical School, ran some of these neuroimaging studies which use fMRI machines to scan people's brain activity as they play gambling exercises designed to induce feelings of regret. He says that the lateral orbitofrontal cortex lights up with elevated activity when people feel regret, and that the effect is stronger and longer lasting in people who self-report a tendency to ruminate or overthink past decisions. In an email, says that we don't yet know exactly how the brain uses its neurotransmitters to trigger the emotional sting of regret, but there is evidence that the orbitofrontal cortex both mediates and experience of regret and also anticipation of regret. And it is the anticipation of regret that helps us avoiding collecting even more regrets in the future. But sometimes I think we're also just not good at that as well. Like just neglecting to see things and all those things. Like, yeah. I think I'm also gonna highlight this one. I don't know. We're just so irrational all over the time. Like it is an insane thing. Even though we always think like we're so rational. You know, we're so just calculating everything and measuring everything. But no, we don't. We fucking don't. Really don't. No, it's not really something that we do. What are our emotions and why do we have them? He got a really fat punch in on his fucking nose. Now we're stressed out. History shows it's the oldest emotion. Is there a case against happiness? And corona stuff, yeah. I hope that you're healthy, by the way. I hope that you're feeling good, and I hope that your family and all the people that you love are well off as well. But yeah, I think that... Oh, I forgot about something. Now it is loading, you piece of shit. But something that I'm recognizing is that when I'm recording with this phone separately, and it just would definitely be the case if I would be using this phone as well, it's just about using it as a separate thing and not just having it just on my computer so that the audio is just directly in the episode, quite. That the performance is way better. I'm not having any issues. But the question now is why? You know, what change does that make? And why does it change so much if I'm just only having something, or if I'm just using a microphone, actually? It's a really interesting thing, but it's still loading. And my nose is really tingling. And the hair in front of my fucking head just pisses me on as well. But yeah, this is what it is. I think I'm actually going to tell you the question of the day right now as well. And actually I should actually think about some questions beforehand, and always when I'm just in the recording and I'm probably going to just say something just because I know that there is going to be the question of the day. Like, well, do you think differently about regret right now? Do you feel less regret or do you feel more understood by yourself maybe? This is the question of the day. And I hope that it is the case because it's important, or because this might be one of the reasons why this episode is a good one to, first of all, show this website, because I don't know how many people know that website. I think it is a pretty cool one. It seems also to be relatively well researched, which is actually also something that Seth Godin was writing about once. And he said, like, just because a website is not Wikipedia or something like that, or it is, how should I say? I think it was also based on whether a website looks good or not, that we should just read the stuff anyway, because we don't know what we are missing out of quite. This is the point, like, just whatever the website might be, read it. It is okay, it is fine. It is fine to just listen to it and read it and consume this information because, it's there. And I actually also have to say, like, who says that if you're, like, I don't know, if you're, the question of the day, we already had it, but I'm gonna go straight into the outro section. And I've forgotten about it, fuck you. Well, anyway, I don't know. I'm hopefully gonna see you the next time. I really wish you the best health, wealth, happiness, and also success. And you're hopefully also gonna remember or remind yourself when you're gonna be remembered, which basically means your legacy and basically means just being a nice person and then being remembered as a nice person. But yeah, with that being said, I'm hopefully gonna see you the next time. So is there actually a lot of echo? There's actually a lot of echo. Hello? Hello? It really feels strange right now. The thing that you're hearing is probably as well. Hello? It's so strange. I'm gonna be here. Hello? Yeah, it's a tiny bit better, I guess, but I'm not quite sure. But yeah, anyway, I am gonna see you the next time. And 3 other questions that I'm having for you are, why are you here? What are you trying to change? And what is bothering you the most? They are important. They might be showing you your purpose and maybe even a business idea, which is a cool thing. But yeah, I'm gonna see you the next time. So bye-bye. And thank you for the time and attention and everything. I really appreciate that. I'll see you.